Yeah, he was neater, but it was,
Yeah, mom's #1 for him right now.
oh yeah, number one always.
100-year-old life, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah.
So we are recording, so be careful what you say. It'll be uploaded on the R3 website too for those that weren't here. But obviously we'll be doing a tour, so it'll be kind of like the ARC one, which I unfortunately missed last go around. So hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Ron Solheid, current director of R3, and really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and help us investigate NUWAY here and find out what's all going on at NUWAY. And some of you probably know a lot more about NUWAY than I do. And we have Amy Steffen here from NUWAY, who's gonna help enlighten us as to all of the programs and services and locations. You know, I did a little looking on the internet beforehand with NUWAY, and I know they've been around since 1966. It said.
Yes.
So 50 plus years essentially doing this work in and around the state of Minnesota, and they've been expanding over the last several years. So very appreciative that you invited us here today and are going to give us a tour of this facility. And then Amy will be also talking about the other locations and what services they around the state. Excuse me, I'm kind of losing my voice a little. I would like to open up with just a short prayer if we can. And I think I just want to start out by thanking God for bringing us all together here today and giving us this opportunity to learn more about the many organizations and agencies that are around the state, such as NUWAY, that are providing the supports and the counseling that people who are going through recovery and mental health concerns have out in front of them. We know it's through God's blessings that many of us are here today and able to participate in this event, and we just want to give thanks for that. And also to keep in your mind and in your prayers John Henderson and his family, as his mother is going through some difficult times here with COVID and then entering hospice this morning. So we just want to keep them and uphold them in prayer and keep their family strong through this challenging time. We thank you, Lord, for all of the blessings for all of us and keeping all of our families safe. And we just want to say thank you and bless all of the work that's going on here today and make our conversations productive and pleasing to you, Lord. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen. With that, I think we're going to start with Amy, who is going to talk about NUWAY, give us an update, and then we'll have everybody else give updates. And, you know, or would you rather have them go first so you know who's in the room, or what works best for you? I was just thinking about that. And
Yeah, whatever you think. I'm open to either. I'll let you make the call.
very agreeable. She is.
Yes.
Maybe we can start with just introductions here, and then you
Sure.
know who's here, and then if more people show up,
Absolutely.
we'll run that
Yep,
through
we'll do that
because
after.
then
Sounds
we'll be going on a tour of the facility here and
Yep.
then meeting back here for a lunch that
Yep.
NUWAY is providing. So it should be a very interesting day for all of us. And just a little housekeeping. There's some waters over there if you need one. Restrooms are over here on the right.
Yep.
If needed. And with that, we'll go ahead and start with introductions with Danitza.
Hi, I'm Danitza Anderson. My ministry is called Joyful Harvest Ministry, and it's an outreach to men and women in prison through some newsletters I do, postcards I do. I just sent out 36 letters of what I call my salvation letters to some men and women, both in federal and state prisons, who finally had their trial and, you know, sadly were convicted. But my prayer has been this week, because they should be getting it this week, and it was mailed last, that these 36 will come to faith in Jesus. And I'm just waiting to get back in.
That's an interesting thought. waiting to get into prison.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
George Gibson with Reentry Employment Network. And so I know most of you know, some of you I know, but we provide services for men and women coming out of jail, prison treatment facilities. Our our niche is we do work a lot within the construction career trades. We kind of officed and began out of Adolphson, Peterson, and then which then formed R3. And so we still have that heartbeat in the construction industry, but a lot of manufacturing as well. So.
Thanks, George.
I'm Lynn Rusted, and I volunteer at the Volunteers of America Residential Reentry Center in Roseville. I lead a Bible study on Monday nights with a friend. I do a knitting and crocheting time or visiting or whatever, just kind of another time to be with ladies. I drive people to appointments if needed, hygiene runs, and then my church, Bethel Lutheran in St. Paul, we're starting up again now after COVID. We'll do a fundraiser this year for hygiene items. And then, hats and mittens and kind of winter gear. And then at Christmas, we do a Christmas gift for each resident at Lake Street and Roseville.
I'm Sylvester Mitchell. I am a case manager with the Salvation Army Pathway Forward Reentry House. I'm also the executive director of my own nonprofit, Man Up Rehabilitation Services, where I'm doing the exact same thing in both roles, helping men that are exiting prison to accomplish whatever goals that they have set for themselves.
Thank you.
I'm on doing this. I'm Norm Anderson. I guess I should identify myself as a volunteer with Prison Mission Association. We merged the 12 seats into Prison Mission just recently. And our director, Dwight Anderson, who I think most of you have met, even though he spells Anderson with an S-O-N like Lisa does, I'm an S-E-N, but we get along all right. So, and I forgot to bring some 12 seats books in, but I think most everybody has them. And if not, you can just hand me, a $50 bill and I'll go out and get one. But anyway, but Dwight is in Australia right now.
I saw that.
He met his wife over there. I think he was a missionary kid or something. And so his in-laws are still over there. And his father-in-law is in the process of dying. He's on oxygen all the time. So they left Monday afternoon. And so we're hoping to spend a little time with him before he passes on.
Thanks, Norm.
I'm Mary Cardinal Peterson. I'm retired from the corrections profession, but have been still involved as a volunteer with RAIN and R3 and the Minnesota Corrections Association Legislative Committee, and then DHS, the Department of Human Services Special Review Board, and doing peace and justice and racial justice work through my church.
Morning, I'm Stephen Peterson. I'm the transportation coordinator for Rain Homes, and I'm like deputy safety missionary with Fire-Based Ministries as well.
Hi, I'm Micah. I'm with Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge Outreach Representative. Most well known for our long-term faith-based program. We also have licensed programs at 7 to 90 days. Intensive outpatient, COVID, we were able to transition, start doing things through Zoom. We now have in-person groups open in our Woodbury and also Crystal campus. Basically, updates for Teen Challenge. We have a lunch and learn coming up for our CPS track, September 28th. So if anybody has people that are involved with CPS, I'd like to invite you guys out there. We always have a good lunch. Lunch is good. And I think that's it for updates. Just very happy to be here. Good to see everybody.
Courtney Prokofiev, I'm also from Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. think I've met most everyone here at this point, and Mike already gave the update, so just a little bit more about our CPS track lunch and learn. We did one a couple of months ago, which was really successful, and that was primarily focused on what that program track is. This one, we're doing it a little bit differently. It's more so about how we can serve the family unit as a whole. So we have a panelist that is a CPS caseworker. She's the manager from Ramsey County. So we get to get her perspective and then also a clinician's perspective, because most of the time we treat mom and child differently, and how we can collaborate those efforts to treat the family as a whole better. So yeah, if you're interested, let either of us know and we'll send out an invite.
Great, great, thank you. So with that, I see David Hibbison is on
Yeah,
line. Can we bring him up? Pastor David, how are you this morning?
Doing well. How's everyone else doing?
Good.
Doing well.
That was enthusiastic. Okay.
Well, you're the only one joining online, and the other people are here, and there still might be a few stragglers showing up, but how have you been feeling?
Feeling really good. Moving around, that's another challenge. So still in a boot, still on a knee rover. Can't put, not supposed to put any weight on the foot. So, but I'm still getting around, back in the pulpit, doing most of the duties that God has charged me to do and different things. So, yeah, doing very well. Thank you. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing fine, recovered from COVID, and he's recovering from surgery on his foot, and I think we're all just thankful to be here today.
That's right. Hey, George.
Hey.
Good to talk to you. Where are your voicemail?
Phone tag.
Great. Well, with that, we're going to have Amy's going to get started and give us information and update on NUWAY, and then we're going to be leaving you because we're going to be taking a tour of the facility here, and so that's kind of like the ARC tour was last time. We'll just be cutting it off after we're done here. So,
Is there any way to turn the volume up on your end?
we've got just the man here to do that.
yeah, the IT king. So how's my voice now? Can you hear me?
Barely.
Barely.
Can you
Okay.
turn the volume up on your end, perhaps?
I did, and it doesn't do anything.
Okay, I just was wondering.
It's in
Yeah,
the ceiling.
Yeah.
That's it.
speakers are up. In the,
Yeah.
Oh,
Where's the gain?
That's okay. I'll just
Yeah.
listen harder.
Yeah.
Pay attention, please.
And David too, I apologize. I'm going to be speaking this way. So if you're looking at me, you might see the back of my head. But you
Okay.
should be able to hear because the speaker is in the ceiling
Okay.
or the mic's in the
There you go.
ceiling. So
God bless your presentation.
thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'll start and have Jim do his magic, work his magic. So thanks so much for coming, you guys. My name is Amy Steffen. I'm a community relations manager with NUWAY. In the back is Jake Lewis, also a community relations manager with NUWAY. Most of you met him downstairs. I'm really thankful Jake is here because he works in this location. I do not. I work in Minneapolis, but we kind of travel all around. There's another one of us named Crystal. So the three of us kind of handle the whole facilities of all of NUWAY in the state of Minnesota. So he's gonna be doing the tour with us after this. So like Ron mentioned, NUWAY was started in 1966. So we have been around for a long time. I'm not gonna go into every detail because that would be like 45 minutes and I don't want to talk that long personally. I'm going to kind of give you the high points. So we did start in 1966 as the first halfway house in the state of Minnesota and one of the first in the country. The reason we started was we share a parking lot, or we're 2 doors north of the 2218 Alano Club in South Minneapolis. Men were coming out of treatment at that time, struggling with housing and struggling to stay in recovery based on the lack of safe and supportive housing for their recovery. So long story short, it's not as simple as it sounds. They pulled their money together, established a 501c3 and bought a boarding house 2 doors north on 22nd and 1st Avenue. And that became NUWAY, and it's still NUWAY. It's NUWAY 1. It was a halfway house for many years. And then in 2011, when rate reform occurred in the state of Minnesota, when we started identifying treatment levels as high, medium, and low for residential and intensive outpatient and outpatient for IOP or for outpatient locations, we kept that same level of care, which is that medium intensity residential, which means it's 21 hours a week of clinical contact. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but as a broad overview, that was 1966. A couple of years later, they needed another house. They purchased another one, did the exact same thing, pooled money together. It was under that nonprofit called NUWAY. It's called NUWAY House, still in the IRS. Hi, how are you? Good. I'll let you kind of do your thing after I'm done with my spiel. So good to see you. So we started, having 2 houses for men, residential treatment. And over the years, I mean, we have added and grown. You can see in the folder, kind of a list of all of our intensive outpatient locations and our residential locations. Not going to get this 100% right in the chronology of what we did, but today, I'll just say today, because it all happened between 1966 and now. Right now, we have 5 residential locations serving adults, men and women, and however somebody identifies. So in South Minneapolis, we have NUWAY 1 and 2 for men and those identifying as men. 30 beds in NUWAY 1, 32 beds, or 31 beds in NUWAY 2. And I know there's 1 cat at NUWAY 1 and there's 2 cats at NUWAY 2. We have cats, which is nice. So obviously during the admissions process, if somebody has an allergy to cats, like we'll have to talk about that. It's just nice. They're very homey, the houses that the guys live in. And then just in February of 2020, we opened NUWAY 3, which is also right in South Minneapolis. It's all in a couple block radius to walk. So if you ever want a tour, I'd be happy to meet you and then we could kind of walk and see all of our sites there. But NUWAY 3 opened and that's for women or female identifying, 31 beds. That's in the old Chrysalis building. It's a beautiful old red brick building. Just gorgeous. That has 1 cat. His name is Sammy. So with those 3 locations, we also have 2 other residential locations outside of the Twin Cities. So we, in May of 2020, purchased the Gables down in Rochester. For those of you familiar with that area, that was at one time a high, medium, and low intensity treatment center for women. When we purchased it, we made it all medium intensity, so it matches the rest of our programming. We also have a co-occurring license, so all of our programs are co-occurring, so we treat mental health and the substance use. We also manage, because Cochrane Recovery Services, it's its own nonprofit, so we can't buy them. We're just managing Cochrane. So if you've ever known Cochrane in the past, it is much different now. We started managing them in 2019. At that time, there was high, medium, and low intensity. There was detox. There was group housing. All of that it's just medium intensity residential for men and male identifying clients. 48 beds, so it's a big facility. We've done a lot of improvements to that location. If you'd ever seen it in the past, we took the bars off the doors and windows. It's not locked. It's fresh coat of paint, new carpet, new furniture, commercial kitchen. We've really tried to spruce it up as best as possible. And if you've ever been there, the campus is gorgeous. So that's in Hastings. So we have a residential admissions team that works to handle all admissions and referrals for all 5 of those locations, because they really have a pulse on what's going on. Every 20 minutes, like if somebody leaves, they know that there's a bed open. That team is really wonderful, and all their information is in that stapled document called Making a Referral to NUWAY. All of our residential programs we have a nurse on staff. We have 24-hour awake staff, whether that's a nurse or a tech. There's always somebody there and awake. 24-hour nursing on call though, and we also have a physician that makes rounds, like especially when someone does an intake at residential, they typically do a physical with Dr. Wickman. And at that time, figure out, all right, do you need to go get some specialized care? Do you need a dental appointment? You know, what haven't you been paying attention to over the last however many months or years because of your using? So we try to, you know, physically get them what they need right away. But our residential locations, they're not locked. I mean, somebody can, after programming is 8:30 to 1:45, and that there's a sample schedule in your folder as well. All of the residential programs are run very similarly with regard to schedule. But after programming is over, a client can get approval to get a pass to leave at 2 o'clock, and they just have to be back at 9 for curfew. So it's a little bit less restrictive than like a high intensity residential program. Most of our clients coming to our medium intensity residential are coming from like a high intensity program like a Hazelden, a Meridian, maybe it's from detox, or they're stepping up from intensive outpatient, needing more structure around their recovery for as much time as they need. All of our programs are really client centered. There's not a 30-day or a 60-day. It's really whatever they need. In residential right now, it's average about 45 days somebody stays. But like I said, that's average. Some are longer, some are shorter. We are MAT friendly in all of our programs. So if somebody's on Suboxone, methadone, even a prescription for benzos, medical marijuana prescription, whatever they have, we will take a look at it. And as long as we have the approval to talk with the prescribing physician, we're good to go. So we're trying to be as barrier-free as possible. Typically, the answer is not no. It's let's look at it and figure out what we can do here. We try to meet the client where they're at with some of that. Trauma-informed, LGBTQIA, safe and friendly. So however somebody identifies, they can really choose where they go, and we have not had a problem or an issue with a trans person at NUWAY, you know, whatever location they want to go to. Let's see, I don't have my notes with me. So as far as programming, it's a lot of group programming. There is once a week, one-on-one appointments that the client has with their counselors. NUWAY 2 has some single rooms. NUWAY 1 and 3 do not have any single rooms. So it's just kind of, you know, some are doubles, some are triples, quads. NUWAY 3 for women has an 8-person room, and I saw it. It's actually gigantic, and it's not as dormitory-like as you would expect, but we have senior peers now in all of our programming. So like if somebody starts off in that room and then is really doing well and showing that they're kind of a role model for their peers, they can move into a double or a triple and kind of move their way up to like the better room if they want to. So NUWAY 3 has the ability to have an accessible situation. So we have a lift that can take a woman if she's in a wheelchair or just has a hard time with stairs, because these houses are old. They're old houses with a lot of stairs and small spaces. But luckily NUWAY 3, we're able to have a lift and we have an accessible shower and bathroom. So that's not something we put on our materials because we can maybe accommodate 1 or 2 at a time. So just FYI, if you ever have that need. That's residential. So we have intensive outpatient also. So like I said, our residential, it's about 21 hours a week of programming when it's all said and done. Our intensive outpatient is not that different as far as the number of hours of programming. We're about 20 hours a week of programming. All of our intensive outpatient locations have the same programming. So it's morning programming, 8:30 to 11:35, Monday through Friday. We think that structure of going somewhere every single day or having to show up every day is more similar to real life. When you have a job, you have to be there. Obviously, for whatever reason, if somebody has to miss, we have makeup group options. There's really there's a lot of opportunities for the client to get the hours they need. And obviously, if they can't do it, we would refer to a lower level of care or something that's 3 days a week. Part of like what Jake and Crystal and I do is really know in the communities that we work in what other programs are available. And if a 5-day week is too intensive, we have suggestions to say, you know what, Here's a couple other places that might be a better fit for you. We're all about collaborating with other providers in the community instead of competition. We do not like that word. So I'm going to say this quick, but it's all in your folder. We're at University right now in St. Paul. We have 2 IOP locations in Minneapolis, 1 in South, 1 in Northeast. We have St. Cloud, Duluth, Rochester, and Mankato. So we are really spread out around the state. And I would think I was talking to somebody earlier that during the pandemic, especially when we went all virtual, we saw a lot of clients accessing our services from like the St. Cloud area and the Mankato area. Those were already kind of on the docket to open, but I think it sped up the process because we saw we were serving people that really needed it. So we are all in person. So that is something like Micah was saying too, like we did pivot to telehealth in 2020 and did that for a couple of years and went back and forth between hybrid and in person. And now we're all in person in our intensive outpatient. We have the option though, if somebody for health reasons or for distance needs virtual. I mean, that's now that we've learned that we can do it that way, there is an option. We have it run out of Duluth, not because that was just the location that is doing it. So what's nice is that if somebody comes in brand new and needs that, they're going to be in a group with other people who are virtually too. They're not going to be the one off, like David being the one on Zoom and everybody's in person. That's really hard. I mean, it's hard for the counselor too. But if somebody gets COVID, like we're still dealing with that, right? COVID, monkeypox, whatever other illness, all of our group rooms are equipped with this kind of technology that they can do a hybrid group and have that person be quarantined, but still able to attend and be a part of their group. The biggest thing I want to mention with regard to our intensive outpatient program is in 2014, we developed what's called the RISE model, Recovery in Supportive Environments, and that's the little blue brochure in your folder. Big surprise, housing was an issue in 1966. It was an issue in 2014, and big surprise, it's an issue today. Safe and supportive housing for people that are trying to go to treatment and be in recovery is really tough. So we partner with over 90 organizations in the state. There's over 240 addresses statewide for sober homes that we partner with. We don't own them. We don't operate them. We vet them though. And we have 2 people within NUWAY that's their full-time job is to develop these relationships, make sure everything's going, smoothly with these partners. So what that means for the client is as long as they're participating in their treatment in outpatient, we will pay up to $550 for them to live in the recovery residence of their choice. So why that's important is on our website and there's a sheet on this in your folder too. You can filter down on our website. Let's say you need St. Paul and you're a woman and you want a faith-based house. You can click those 3 filters and whittle that 200+ list down to maybe 3. And then we encourage the clients to call the manager at these houses, get a good feel for where they're going to be living, make that choice themselves, and then they can choose. It's kind of empowering for them to choose. And then when treatment's over, when they graduate, they can stay in that house and take over that payment. So they don't have to have that really stressful transition time of moving right when treatment's done. Typically an outpatient with lodging programs, when the treatment owns the lodging, once treatment's done, so is the housing, and that can just be stressful. We pay 4 weeks after graduation for that minimization of that stress for them. Hopefully they're talking about housing and what's next well before the time they graduate, but at least it gives them that buffer. And a lot of people choose to stay in the sober home and, take over that payment. We have a nonprofit underneath our bigger nonprofit called the NUWAY Recovery Residence Foundation. So that's where those funds come from to pay for those clients to live in the house of their choice. So every IOP we have, Mankato is the newest one. That's the slowest one to get the housing situated. We have 2 partners down there, which is great so that somebody can actually have a choice. But every location we have intensive outpatient, we have housing partners so that it's convenient to where they're gonna go to treatment. Just like with residential, we accept MAT, LGBTQ, it's co-occurring, trauma-informed. Part of our curriculum, we do have some trauma skills group options. We have gender-specific groups within that week for people. But our IOP is co-ed, so it's, you know, they're in a group with other people, males and females, and then they can pop out Thursdays into a gender-specific group just to get some more specific care in a group with another counselor. So they're interacting with more than just their primary counselor, which is nice. Length of stay is around 86 to 90 days in our IOP, but again, that's really driven by the client and the counselor in a collaboration, like how long do they need? Then we have an outpatient program, which is not all the folders had one because I ran out, but these little cards. We have a continuing care program that is located in our original St. Paul location on West 7th. It's a 3-day-a-week program, morning and evening, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. No, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Morning is hybrid. So if somebody really wants that in-person care, they can go to St. Paul, but they also can join virtually. And then the evening program is 100% virtual. It's really nice to keep, as we all know, the longer somebody stays in the continuum, the better chance for them to have success in their recovery. So they go 8 weeks at this 3-day-a-week, then they can step down if they want to 1 day a week for another 4 weeks. So again, it just adds 3 more months to there. So someone could, truly be with us for almost a year or over if they still meet the criteria, and if their funding pays. Speaking of funding, probably 90% of our clients are on some sort of medical assistance. If they come in with no funding, typically our team will help them sign up for UCare, get insurance. We also take really any other insurance, commercial, private pay. But like I said, most of our clients have had a barrier with that. So we try to help where possible. I think that was a lot of information. Anything I missed? Any questions? Thank you. Any questions like on anything NUWAY related? Yeah.
So, I'm sure have you heard of Gateway where they do detoxing?
Yes, we have a great relationship with Gateway.
So you don't do any detoxing, do you?
We do not.
You get them they come to you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, so is there any requirement of sobriety when to come in first day? Just I'm high, I need help.
Right.
We'll talk.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep. And we all know return to use is, part of the deal. It's part of the process in recovery. And so that's another reason why we don't own our sober homes, because let's say somebody has a return to use in intensive outpatient, they might be asked to leave the recovery residence because it might interfere with safety and concerns for other people in that house. They're not necessarily kicked out of treatment. So we can help move them to a different house that we partner with, rather than oh, you're starting over, you have to go to another program. That's not going to help in any way for that person. Even in residential, if somebody doesn't make it back by curfew, it's not that they're absolutely, you have to leave and you can't come back for a certain amount of days. We just try to work with the client if they want to come back. What was the situation? What happened? Banning somebody from coming back is not going to do anything to help.
It's not going to cure them.
Exactly.
So how do the people know to come here? Where do they get referred from? All
Yes.
kinds of different
All kinds of
organizations?
different. Yeah, we get a lot of referrals from a high intensity residential program. Sometimes they go right from high intensity to intensive outpatient. Sometimes they go kind of step down to our medium intensity, then our outpatient, and then our continuing care. Counties, detoxes, other providers, we do a lot of back and forth with Teen Challenge, all the different locations, all the different levels of care, kind of going back and forth. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of, mental health providers too, where they're seeing maybe someone's just going to mental health, therapy once a week, and they notice there's a substance use issue here and they might refer to us. So In that case, it's like they're stepping into an outpatient situation instead of coming down from the higher level.
And so most of them are all substance abuse.
Yes,
And
that's the
mental
primary.
health, mental health comes as a backup. That's not
Yes.
the first thing is the drug addiction.
Yes, thank you. Yep. So it had, yeah, substance use disorder has to be the
Got it.
primary diagnosis, so to speak. But we do work with the mental health. Most of our clinicians are dually licensed. We have mental health therapists placed at our outpatient location so that they can get an individual session while they're with us. One thing really important, though, we all believe in is collaborating and partnering with other community organizations. Because once they leave NUWAY, if all their mental health, everything they've been doing is just in-house, then they're going to kind of start over when they're out. So we kind of in that initial intake and the first couple days of when they're with us, if they need some extra like support with mental health or an eating disorder or something else, we will try to connect them then with another provider in the community, like a Rogers Behavioral Health, for example, to get that extra care while they're with us. And then when they're done, they still have the relationship. We work a lot with like care counseling and LA Mental Health and those larger mental health organizations, or they might come to us, they already have a therapist. Well, we for sure want to keep that going because that's that continuity of just having another person that they're connected to. And we try to do that in all of our locations. So it's been really fun, kind of a fun project to try to learn the new areas that we've expanded to and really get to know those communities where there's gaps and, who's there.
Now, do you have people who come from prison or are on their way to prison? Because I know some
Yes.
people go to Teen Challenge before they go to prison, so.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have a lot of, I don't know the percentages, but we work with a lot of people that are coming out, going in on probation. Sometimes they're in treatment, not because they want to be, because they have to be, but we try to work with them and meet them where they're at. We understand. Yeah. Yeah, great questions.
So while they're in, say, the intensive outpatient, as far as their schedule typically is morning, structured around the morning.
Yes.
And then they leave, go back to sober housing.
Mhm.
They may have found a bed or a place.
Yeah.
Or if they have their own apartment or whatever.
Yes.
Location. As far as their work schedules, for these folks that are
Yes.
working, how does,
Yeah.
Typically, we encourage people to be working when they're in intensive outpatient. And it's really nice because typically they do get out at 11:35. So even if they start a job at noon, maybe they'll have an evening job. Our two Minneapolis locations do have some options for more afternoon programming, but the rest of them are just morning. That's what's most desirable for people that are going to outpatient treatment. Yeah, so that's a great point. We definitely encourage them to be working. And if not, volunteering, going to meetings, there's no requirement that we say you must do this. Some of the recovery residences we partner with have all sorts of a variety of rules. Like one might say you need to go to 5 meetings a week. The other one might say, we don't really care. We care, but you don't have to do this many. So some are really strict, some are more lenient with what you have to do when you're there. Some of the recovery residences do UAs and check for things, and we do it as well. We just do it as needed. So if they're in residential, that medium intensity residential, they cannot work because it's really intense. They're going to programming almost till 2:00 in the afternoon. They need some free time mentally away from to go right from that to work. They can have their cars though, they can have their phones. So it's a little bit more lenient than a high intensity program. The first 72 hours, they cannot go out on a pass and go visit with family or friends or whatever. They kind of have to earn that for the first couple days, and then they can, maybe they'll go to therapy. That's at 3:00 or 4:00. They'll go for a walk. They go to a meeting, maybe they can go to the grocery store. It's kind of flexible what they do at that time, but they just have to be back by curfew. And then visiting, we have Wednesdays and Sundays from 2 to 4 in residential that they can have family and friends come and visit. Just on the main levels, they can't go into their rooms or anything. But that's nice, that just opened up from COVID. It's really nice. So tours actually at residential just kind of came back. And so if anybody wants to tour any of the other, Jake is going to give us a great tour here, but if anybody wants to do any other locations that we have, please let me know and we can do that.
Curious about those that are coming who are on some form of community supervision, whether it's supervised release or probation. Curious about the relationship with the NUWAY staff and those folks that are having to provide some form of supervision.
Yeah, typically there's an ROI sign so that everybody can be talking. And then if they need to come for those meetings or if they need to go out, that's all worked out. Yeah. That was a very non-clinical way of saying we will work it out. I'm not a clinical person, so we see that all the time.
Yeah.
So that's all stuff that's handled on intake. Like, okay, who are all your collaterals, and like, let's get everything signed, and yeah, we try to make it as barrier-free as possible. And I know that's kind of a word I keep saying, but like I said, the answer is rarely no. I mean, sometimes it has to be no, but that's usually not our first. It's like, let's talk about it.
Is there criminal history that you don't work with as far as like arson or sex offenders or those kind of?
So in residential, it's always let's call and talk about it. Level 3 is the toughest one, obviously. I'm not going to say absolutely no, because it would be a decision made by our residential director. We would take 1 and 2, and arson just depends on, it just depends. Yeah. Yeah. But we're, as a lot of people don't, we will say, let's just talk about it. In outpatient, yeah. Hi, John.
Hello,
How are you?
I am too blessed to be stressed. Thank you.
I knew you were going to say that.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Anybody have any more questions for me?
Do you know, when you say, level 3s are hard, what % of level 3s that are referred would you say that are accepted?
I mean, I don't have a number. I would say, and again, I don't know all the rules around like, when does it get off your record? I don't know if that's even a thing. It never does. Like if it's something like 35 years ago and it was like, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old or something like, I don't know. That would be a case where you could try to fight to say, okay, this person has this on his record, but look at his history for the last 20 years or whatever. So yeah, I would say always ask and don't assume it's a no.
Well, and I would imagine if it's intensive outpatient, the housing piece of it is for the level 3.
Exactly.
With residency restrictions and so on.
Yeah, and we have on that sheet in your folder that says the recovery residence agreement thing. There's an email and a phone number for Sam, who if somebody needs a recovery residence that has that history, he'll know like, oh, there's a couple that I know will take them, or a little more flexible with backgrounds. So.
Now, I really am not always the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But when in the residential, when you talk about they can't work, but if they can be on pass from 2 to 9 p.m., they have a car, they need to pay for gas, they need to pay for insurance. What's really stopping them from picking up a part-time job?
I mean, that's just kind of just part of our programming where we just say, just right now it's focusing on your recovery, and that free time should be self-care, meetings, not making money. I mean, I don't know. It's a clinical decision that we've always stood by. So
From here, they could just walk over to Cub and work 4 hours.
yeah. Yeah, they could. I mean, that's above my Okay, great. I could find out. I've actually haven't heard that kind of challenge before, so it's such a good point.
That's because I'm coming from a release planning
Yes.
perspective, because after they're done, they're gonna need some money for
Yeah,
a place to live. And
right,
learning how to balance life responsibilities.
right. Yeah,
That's
no,
right.
that's a good,
Plus they can lie. And how would you know? And then what happens?
yeah, I mean, that.
We
good
don't want to
point.
be encouraging that, but
Right.
some people get that
Yeah.
desperate when they feel those pressures.
Right. Yeah, typically, I mean, not all of our clients from residential step down to our intensive outpatient, but if they do, then we will pay for that recovery residence fee for them to live there. So that at that point, then they can start working and start earning their own, their income back.
So you do have, that's kind of the step down plan for folks.
Yeah,
So because I know like we've had some folks that are very concerned and nervous about, how am I gonna continue to be able to afford to live somewhere if I don't have.
Well, and especially when they have a vehicle. And
Yeah.
like my
Mhm.
current person's vehicle who just broke down,
right.
that's a big issue.
Yeah.
Or child support payments,
Mhm.
or restitution, those kind of
Yeah,
things do weigh.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I'm just for my own curiosity too. I want to try to get some more information about that, just to know how to handle that question. Yeah. So just because they have cars doesn't mean everybody has a car. I mean, I'd say the majority do not have a car when they come.
But for
And-
some, it's a big.
Right, right. Yeah, and some go to treatment in Minneapolis and they're not from the Twin Cities and end up, going back to home, wherever that is, Rochester, Duluth, St. Cloud. And some people that are from Minneapolis that think they want to go to Minneapolis. Sometimes it's encouraged, they might maybe go to Hastings or the Gables, like maybe get out of the Twin Cities. Kind of reestablish and then get yourself healthy and then come back. So. Great question.
You
Yeah.
had mentioned NUWAY Financial, or is there a fund or something? So how is NUWAY funded, I guess is the bottom line.
So we are a nonprofit. And there's a nonprofit called the NUWAY, the Recovery Residence Foundation, that all of the funds for the clients' living situations they come out of there. So, I mean, we're run by a volunteer board. We, any profit that we make just goes right back into our business.
so through the funding that you receive for the treatment.
Yes.
piece, whether it be mental health or chemical dependency, if there's excess dollars there, then
Yep.
that goes back to the other foundation. for
Absolutely.
Use for housing. et cetera.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. And again, I'm not technical for I don't do the billing or anything, but if somebody's on Medicaid and whatever rate they get, and so all that it really goes to help pay for people's housing and it goes right back
Good
in.
model
It is.
On both.
Yeah, it is. And to so if it has NUWAY in its name, so NUWAY 1, 2, 3, and basically all the intensive outpatients have NUWAY in its name. We're one of 2 non-hospital based treatment providers in the state that are Joint Commission accredited, which means they have gone through every single piece of our programming and billing and everything, and with a fine tooth comb. And so and it's always too how can we make this more efficient, or how can, there's little things that come down from our compliance team, oh, you have to note this way, just, and it's all, obviously for the betterment of the client, but it's also just to be an open book as far as how we run things. So the Gables and Cochrane are working on that accreditation as we speak, but the Joint Commission comes through and, pops in and looks at, asks to look at a client's records, and,
Sure.
it's amazing to be a counselor and all the things that they have to do along with helping serve the client. I'm amazed by all of the things that they do. Yes,
Two questions.
sure.
What's the turnaround time to get somebody into NUWAY?
Yep.
And then, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with intensive outpatient. Intensive outpatient, you might wait a day or two to get an intake appointment. But we don't ever have a wait or a cap as far as like, oh, we can't take you. You have to wait a month or whatever. We will hire to accommodate the number of clients that we're going to be serving in intensive outpatient. While making a referral, it's calling the location that the person's interested in coming to. Like I said, if they have an opening, they'll say like, hey, we can see you. Like if you call at 9, they might have an opening at 11 to come in for an intake. It might be tomorrow or the next day. When they come in for the intake, typically they start treatment the next morning. So, and in that process, between the phone call and when they come in for the intake, all the information is shared about, all right, where are you living? Do you want to take advantage and live in one of the recovery residences we partner with? And if so, the admissions team will talk about how to go on the website, filter down, find a couple houses and encourage the client, the potential client to call and pick where they want to live. Life is not perfect. So sometimes they might move into the house and have their intake 3 days later. That's fine. As long as we understand what's going on, we will backdate that payment for them. Because if it's like, typically it doesn't happen where they call, they do their intake, then they move in that afternoon, all nice. And, life doesn't work like that. So sometimes it's a little bit backwards, but we'll work with them.
But it's pretty rapid.
Pretty rapid, yes. And our residential has typically a wait, but sometimes it's 2 days, sometimes it's 10 days. It just every day changes. And how we keep our waiting list, if somebody it just depends on if they're already in a program, if they can stay a couple more days at a residential program, if their funding will pay, they can kind of line it up to know when someone else is going to be graduating. If somebody doesn't come back from curfew and it's 10 a.m. the next day and they have an open bed, the admissions team will literally go down the list and call. Whoever answers the phone and still needs the bed will get the bed. Also, I always encourage when I talk to referents, whether it's counties or hospitals or whoever, if that client is calling every single day to really try to get in and ask, what's the wait now? What's the wait now? Because it changes all the time. That engagement is going to, if they get a hold and there's a bed, they're going to get the bed.
Squeaky wheel.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, you've been on the
squeaky wheel.
list for 4 weeks and you never have called. I mean, you have to re-engage and then be available too. If Tyler, our admissions coordinator, calls to answer and take it. So we provide transportation to anywhere in the state if somebody needs to be picked up at a detox, at a high intensity place, randomly from anywhere. We'll try to get that person to their intake. And then as far as transportation after that, usually it's med rides or like an Uber Health. Occasionally we'll pay for that. So.
And have you been out in person now, or are you still Zoom or?
We are in person for intensive outpatient. We're 100% in person.
Okay.
We have a virtual group option though, if somebody needs it for distance or health. If they have not come to NUWAY and they're coming in today and they're like, I need virtual because of this and this. They can join a group that's 100% virtual that's being run out of Duluth. That's just,
Sure.
there's no reason why it's out of Duluth. It just is. So, and we'll kind of grow that if the need is there to grow that.
So you can fit. The last one then would be, are you primarily Monday through Friday, mornings, afternoons, is evenings possible? Or just kind of when is your bulk? And then do you have other options?
Yes. So our intensive outpatient is all morning,
Okay.
8:30 to 11:35. All of the locations have the same time.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, every day. I think, you missed that part. So we really think it's good to have like the consistency of a schedule coming in every day.
Sure.
It's more real life, like a job. That right now that's their job, unless they have a part-time job later, is to come to treatment and, work on themselves. South Minneapolis and Northeast have an afternoon option for IOP. It's a much smaller program. But there is that option at just those 2 locations, and that's all in person. The only evening option we have is for outpatient, which is the step down 3-day a week, 100% virtual in the evening.
So is that, would you consider that aftercare or is that
Yep.
similar to that? or-
Yep, it's a ASAM 1.0 aftercare. Yep, 3 days a week for 8 weeks, and then it goes down to 1 day a week for 4 weeks.
So they could be working and then do the evening.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep, for sure. Good questions.
Yep, because those are the things that you're always trying to balance with the clients.
Yeah. All right.
One last one.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Well, I think I'm done, man. Great job again. Also, I wanted to mention that I'm alumni.
Oh,
I
awesome.
didn't put the pieces together, but probably back in 1980, I stayed at that South House, of
Oh.
the greenhouse.
Okay,
So to
yeah.
hear the history of it and how it's grown. And just recently in my life, in the last year, all I hear is NUWAY this, NUWAY that. And I'm calling him with questions and he's always telling me, you're on a need to know basis. But there's been so much, all I hear is NUWAY.
Nice.
So, I think I really, you did such a great job. I understand it for all parts, except for the funding part. So I know there's a lot of places that use Gateway. That's why I hear Gateway
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah,
And you work with everybody.
Yeah.
And you have the housing.
Yep.
But if you're full, they can be housed somewhere else and still be in your program.
yeah. So we don't own any of our housing. So that's kind of the little niche, the difference between us. So yeah, if they want to go to a sober house that we partner with and they're full, then there's 3 others that hopefully have a bed open. And so they'll find that house that's close to what IOP they want to go to.
Right. I know there's other ministries, they stay there and they
Yes.
do Gateway. So
Gateway. Okay, so
like Freedom Works or Serenity Village,
Yes.
they can stay in those houses and they
Yes.
get Gateway. Now, if
I
somebody,
think he means new way.
new way. Yeah, I know what he means.
Just having a senior moment.
I know what he means. Yeah.
yeah, this is,
Yeah, you don't
New Way,
have,
right?
yeah, you don't
Yeah,
have to
but you're
live.
Saying
in-
gateway.
oh, I'm sorry, I keep
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah,
about Gateway.
we understand because we know you,
Yeah,
Steve.
I knew it.
Yeah.
But Amy doesn't know you. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah, New Way, yeah. I'm
Amy's
sorry.
scratching her head going.
Yeah, Gateway.
I knew what you meant. So
Yeah.
the client doesn't have to live in one of our partnered recovery residences. They can live in one that we don't partner with. They can live on their own if it's a safe and supportive environment. That's kind of all that's, in their intake appointment, like talked about, like, what is
Yep.
your housing situation?
And so all those ones I mentioned are programs, so the $6 million question, I took that to get to this. If they lived at my house.
Yeah,
Could they get funding if I charge rent and could do your program?
if you're a partner of ours. I don't know if you are.
You have to be signed up with them.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yep,
You have to be approved.
yes. And not by me, but it's
Yeah,
by
maybe
Sam.
Amy makes all the decisions.
I don't make the decisions.
And she signs all the big checks.
Yeah,
Okay,
The little ones she doesn't sign. She just. signs
Gotcha.
just the
big-
big ones.
that's it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Right. Brennan, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Brendan Schmitzer. I'm an outreach rep for Rogers Behavioral Health. We have residentials and inpatient hospitals in southeastern Wisconsin, and then outpatient clinics located throughout the country. Specifically, here in Minnesota, we have 2 locations, Eden Prairie and Woodbury. And between the 2 clinics, we treat children, adolescents, and adults. OCD and anxiety is probably what we're most well known for, but also depression, eating disorders, trauma, and then a co-occurring mental health and addiction recovery. These are going to be the IOP levels of care and PHP level of care. Our IOP is 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and then our PHP is 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday. We are in network with most commercial insurances. We're currently only in network with 2 of the PMAPs. It's Blue Plus and Health Partners. We're constantly going back and forth with our managed care team, letting them know that we need to get in network with more. So it's just working with insurances can sometimes be a lengthened out process, but we are working to get in network with more PMAPs to increase access to care. One last thing I'll add is we have an adult OCD and anxiety IOP and PHP program that are fully virtual. So for any folks that are maybe outside of the Twin Cities, northern Minnesota, southern Minnesota, they can't necessarily commute to one of our clinics every day, 5 days a week. We can offer a fully virtual option.
Awesome. Thank you. I just noticed it's 12:10. And if we want to do a tour and eat lunch, we should probably
Probably get put on
One last
get going a little bit. Yeah, Sylvester.
Just kind of backdoor what he was saying.
Yeah.
I don't, how would an organization go through the process of being on your approved list?
Yes, that I can connect you with Sam Woolery, who is our recovery residence director, and he will tell you all you need to know and be able to talk about what arrangements and kind of what it takes and all that stuff. Yeah, we're very like flexible and open to bringing on new partners all the time.
That
So
information. Thank you.
awesome. Yeah, no problem. I have your email, so I'll remember to introduce you. And if you want to talk about that too, give me your info and then I'll introduce you too.
I got one left one, because we just
Okay.
mental aspect.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So, if somebody has to leave, you can grab a box lunch and go, but if you want to do a quick tour, we can do that and then come back and eat a quick lunch. So Jake is gonna help us with tours.
So
Versus,
Yes, because let me just make sure. Jake, no clients are up here. Can we leave our purses up here? Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
I'm the tour guide.
Follow that guy.
If they cold, are you gonna get one of those?
Yes. I tell you, during the summer, it's always hard to be getting because it's always warm.
What you did?
if you're looking for like a prom, like prom type of program, or
Everybody gonna do the tour?
Or about where they're not, you know, as far as.
So, got
yeah.
They kind of, they were kind of like.
university.
Yep.
So they picked somebody.
You guys can talk. No, don't be sorry, don't be sorry.